Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Welcome to the August 27th meeting of the Shawnee County Board of Commissioners. My name is Kevin Cook. I serve as the chair of the Shawnee County Commission. Joining me today is Commissioner Shelley Bueller. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Commissioner Bob Archer. Good morning.
Good morning.
Before we begin with the first item is a discussion of the Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan. I would assume that the majority of you are here for that discussion. After some comments from the discussion from the commissioners, we will allow for public comment. As you come up to the podium, please do state your name so that the clerks can make sure that it is recorded properly. Also, be respectful of each other's times. Unlike other city or county bodies or state governments, we don't have a timer, so you're at your leisure to make sure you make your comments, but at the same time, do be respectful of everybody else's times as well. Additionally, due to the limited seating in this chambers, we have enabled the cafeteria down the hall with a video monitor, which is also streaming this meeting. There's a little bit of a delay between here and there, about 30 seconds. So as we get to public comment, if you're down the hall and you want to make a public comment, come on down. We will accommodate all of you. After the discussion of the comprehensive plan, we will take a 2-minute break just to allow everybody who doesn't want to sit through the rest of the meeting, although you are all welcome to do so, to be able to go on about your day. So, with all of that being said, Madam Clerk, our first item.
First item is item 2, unfinished business, continued discussion of the Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan.
Commissioners, last week we did have the introduction of the comprehensive plan. We allowed for public comment of the comprehensive plan. The counselor's office gave a background of the comprehensive plan and the history of how we arrived at this point today. For the public, the comprehensive plan as presented is really 3 different documents. One is issue papers, one is the comprehensive plan, and the other are the minutes from the Planning Commission, and detailing all the discussions that the Planning Commission undertook with the comprehensive plan. If there are individuals that have not had a comprehensive chance to review it, it is online, but also if you will contact the Planning Department, we can make sure a copy gets to you or is available to you for you to be able to pick up or review. The document itself is about 197 pages long, and it contains a lot of information and data. So before we begin, or kind of as we begin, I know that there are a number of changes that I would want to make to the comprehensive plan. I would suspect that the other 2 commissioners may have their own thoughts, and so what I thought I might do is just kind of open it up to the commissioners to allow comment as to where they're at with the comprehensive plan or any changes that they might want to make or not make. I might note for the public, this is the only opportunity that we as the commissioners have to discuss this action in government. Where there aren't some sort of side discussions or backhaul negotiations, because to do so would be a violation of the open meetings. So you're hearing for the first time what changes the commissioners have, as I'm also hearing it for the first time. So with that, Commissioner Bueller, turn it over to you.
I'm going to go first, huh? Okay, all right. Well, and I have my comments typed as well. But I do want to start out with saying thank you first to the Planning Commission and all their hard work. I want to say thank you to everybody who's here today for their comments, and in the past, everybody who's participated in this process. I'm going to go ahead and read my statements, but inside the Topeka ETJ area, that's the 3-mile area, the city currently regulates the division of land while Shawnee County retains zoning and building permits. The comprehensive plan provides Shawnee County officials with a reasonable basis to conduct policy-level discussions with Topeka officials regarding how best to manage land use and development within the 3-mile area. This is extremely important for those constituents living in this area, and I think that's one thing to make sure we don't lose in this discussion, that we do not have any don't have any representation for those residents within that area. I believe the comprehensive plan provides a multitude of resources, such as the environmental constraints map and the infrastructure opportunity map, to really help guide land use decisions for businesses, for developers, and for individual property owners. There's a wealth of information that's been gathered, and it's all in one place so that people have that information, and we do not have that currently, so that I think that is very helpful for the plan. I've heard, as you all have, from the agricultural community, and going to I went to the matrix. There's and I went to page 161. The matrix in the back is for the implementation matrix, and that is where everything is condensed, correct? And where's Joni? Okay. And Joni's our attorney who has worked on this as well. But looking at page 161, it's LU-3, I believe. And it's new resident. I'll read it how it reads now. New residential development should be discouraged in the exclusive agricultural use area and the agricultural conservation area, with exceptions as laid out in the chapter. And what I would change would be new language. New residential development should not be prohibited in the exclusive agricultural use area and the agricultural conservation area. The current plat exemption policies would be in place outside of the City of Topeka ETJ 3-mile area. So that's one change I have. And then I went back and saw where in the plan that was referenced again, and actually it's in page 103, under exclusive ag use area, and there is a paragraph where it reads about the two residential structures, a primary residence, an accessory residence. I would remove that entire paragraph. And then under page 154, under agricultural conservation areas, it's the third bullet, new language, and that would be heavy commercial and industrial land uses should be discouraged. We heard from Curtis Sneeden, I think Curtis is in the audience, about the strong use of prohibited, and so that would be my changes. So again, there's a lot in this plan. There's a lot of words: consider, promote, coordinate, encourage, develop, preserve. There's a lot of aspirations on what this plan can be for the future. It is something that would be reviewed by the commission in the future. So I'll just end my comments, but I do think it is a good start. Any questions? And our printer, for some reason, did not highlight my highlighted areas, so I put those in parentheses. So, and I have one for the clerk. Thank you, Commissioner Cook.
Thank you. Commissioner Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I have my statement and a plan that's been significantly revised. The comprehensive plan was submitted to the County Commission on October 12, 2017, and it was unanimously disapproved and returned to the Planning Commission. The plan was developed by the RDG Consulting Group. RDG had performed the City of Topeka's land use and growth management plan, and it is my view that the LUGMP significantly influenced the development of the Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan. Planning Commission spent over 9 months revising the plan, and the revision was passed by the Planning Commission on a vote of 4-3 on June 20th, 2018. The revised plan, in my opinion, June 20th, 2018, is essentially the discredited 10/12/2017 plan. Revisions are very minor. Public involvement in the process was almost non-existent. In response to a community questionnaire, only 320 out of approximately 47,000 residents responded. I asked that the survey be statistically valid. The consultant said no. Public open houses were scarcely attended, 9 in one, 27 in another. The final open house was attended by 22, and where there was public involvement, the majority of attendees opposed the plan. In other words, this is not the people's plan, this is the planner's plan. From the dissenting planning commissioners at the meeting, quote, "This will cause harm and burden to individuals and companies who are trying to live and do business within Shawnee County." Another quote, "It was an impossible task to reconsider a paid consultant's 160-page document and reconcile it to produce a common sense plan for Shawnee County to use for long-term planning." Finally, there has been little public support for the plan. Cost to implement. Rewrite of the county use regulations, $100,000. Cost for building code inspection, 3 new permanent employees, a supervisor, an inspector, and an administrative assistant. Startup cost, $300,000. Recurring cost, $201,000. Hire a new permanent planner for the planning department, about $65,000 per year. So total cost, $465,000 first year, $266,000 in future years. I think the true focus of the plan, and I'm quoting from the plan, is zoning. Farming and ranching should continue to be the most important land use in the unincorporated area of Shawnee County. Given the importance of agricultural income to the local economy, Shawnee County should take steps to protect farms and ranchers for future generations. This includes preventing loss of agricultural lands to residential, commercial, and industrial development. There is a wealth of good data contained in the plan. There are also many good, actionable suggestions in the plan, and I particularly like the emphasis on economic development and intergovernmental cooperation. However, the plan does not have the public support. It has been pointed out that many counties have a comprehensive plan. However, all other counties in the state are different than Shawnee County. A reasonable, common sense, public-supported comprehensive plan would work for Shawnee County. This plan is neither reasonable nor based on common sense. I have submitted my specific objections to the county councilor. They're in here. Essentially, I have eliminated provisions that limit the rights of property owners in Shawnee County and the provision that spend tens of thousands of tax dollars that are not budgeted. Unless there are significant revisions to the comprehensive plan, I cannot support it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. So at this time, you've heard comments from Commissioner Bueller and from Commissioner Archer regarding the comprehensive plan. Likewise, I too have gone through the comprehensive plan. There are changes that I have outlined that I would like to see made to the comprehensive plan. Where we are at as a commission, in my opinion, really focuses on, first, what drove us to this spot. When the city of Topeka and Shawnee County split into two separate bodies regarding their planning, you developed two different sets of rules, two different sets of ideals. By operation of law, the city of Topeka was able to claim and control the 3-mile radius around the city of Topeka. As Commissioner Bueller referenced, it's called the ETJ, Extraterritorial Jurisdiction. By operation, planning, zoning fall under the planning department, but land use falls under the city of Topeka. Those individuals within the 3-mile radius have no representation. When the city of Topeka passed its long-range use plan, or LGUMP as it's called, what it did was it made changes to how those individuals within the 3-mile radius were able to use their land. Their county commissioners did not have a vote, nor did they have a city council person who was representing them because they fell outside of the city. Now, history will tell us that when you have no representation, that runs contrary to our senses of democracy and government. The only way that Shawnee County can re-exert its ability to control or have a say for those individuals within the 3-mile radius is through a comprehensive plan. The statutes and the laws outline that if Shawnee County was to have a comprehensive plan, they then can reassert their ability to control that 3-mile area. For me as a commissioner, that is key. Until those individuals have a representative voice, until they have somebody who's looking out for them, we have an error in justice. Now, the changes that I have outlined in my proposed changes are really a mix between those outlined by Commissioner Bueller and those outlined by Commissioner Archer. Now, primarily, I do not support the city of Topeka annexing Shawnee County. Before there's an annexation or annexation efforts, I believe that the city of Topeka needs to address some of its key problems with infrastructure and with some of how it does its business. When elected as a commissioner, I made the comment, it's not about me, it's about we. And over the 5 years that Commissioner Archer and I and Commissioner Bueller have made up the county commission, we have tried very hard to find areas that we can get along with the city of Topeka, because fighting against each other does not add for a better county government. We need to find those areas that we agree, identify those areas that we disagree, because quite frankly, we have sometimes different interests. The interests of the city of Topeka and the interests of the Shawnee County Commission are not always the same. As it relates to the requirement that you would have a 20 acre with 300 feet of frontage, I disagree with that. There should be still the ability to have 3-acre plots. Additionally, we should not prohibit the economic development as outlined by the Chamber of Commerce. We don't know where our next business industry is going to come from. And we should not arbitrarily place rules or restrictions that would limit that. But primarily, you will see from the edits and changes I make, I do not support the city of Topeka's long-range plan that it developed. The reason, it did not have the interests of the entire county at heart. Its long-range plan was focused in on issues related to the city of Topeka. Primarily, city of Topeka's growth has been stagnant or declining. The county's population has remained steady. The only reason that this county's population has remained steady is individuals are moving from the city to the county. There's a number of reasons that they would do that. Some want to have a little bit more land. Some want to be farmers. Some want to live in a different school district. There's not a one reason why people would choose. But I believe that until the city of Topeka addresses the issues that confront it with as to why people do not want to live in the city, imposing a restriction upon all of us does not answer that issue and does not answer that question. This county is here to support the city. The city makes up the majority of our tax base. The failure of the city is a failure of the county. We should be here to work with each other, but not at the detriment of the entire county. So I have made a number of edits and changes as well, and those are outlined. It will be my request that the Information Technology Department post on the county website the changes that are proposed by Commissioner Archer, Commissioner Bueller, and myself, so that you as the public would have the opportunity, and we as commissioners would have the opportunity to review it. It would be improper for us just to try and take a vote today or to try and start carving up the comprehensive plan today. I think this is a matter that does require consideration and time for me to be able to review the recommendations of Commissioner Archer and the recommendations of Commissioner Bueller. There may be areas that all three of us agree on, and there may be areas that we're very much opposed to. Any discussions of what revisions or changes should occur in a public setting such as this. So, with that being said, I am now wanting to allow the public to have public comment regarding this, and I understand none of you have read my changes. None of you have read the changes of Commissioner Archer. None of you have read any changes of Commissioner Bueller. But we will make all those available so you will have the opportunity. This is your democratic government in action. There'll be a little bit of give and take. We may pass a plan. We may not pass a plan. The future is not yet written, but there will be a healthy and hearty discussion as to the future of Shawnee County. So, Commissioners, at this time I would allow the opportunity for the public to make any comment.
Thank you very much for allowing us to come back up here and respond to the comments. I'm Carol Marple. I live in southern Shawnee County. I have a few questions. I was trying to make a few notes. I'm going to go ahead and read what I had prepared for this meeting. Some of the comments I heard last Monday, I just kind of took me aback. I have spent a lot of years going to county commission meetings, JADO meetings, city council meetings. And last Monday, I'll be real honest, was the first time that I had ever heard that Shawnee County wasn't growing because we did not have a comprehensive plan. That is, I'd never heard that before. In probably 12 years of going to meetings, never had I heard that. I have heard that lack of growth comes from not having affordable housing, lack of green space, quality of life is lacking, crime, poor streets, code enforcement is lacking, but again, never because of not having a comprehensive plan. I also believe that it was an insult to the county commissioners to suggest that by the appointment of 2 new planning board members, they were hoping to change the outcome of the planning board vote. The commissioners will have the final vote on that plan, not the planning board. I cannot even put a number on the amount of times that I have heard just because someone has moved into an area, they don't believe that anybody else should be able to move into that area. They consider all the space out there theirs, whether they own it or not. My response is and will continue to be, if you don't want neighbors beside you or across the street, buy the land. Put some skin in the game. Just because you moved out there, the only thing you control is the land you own, not anything else. I also take issue with the statements about planning piano key plots. I brought an example, which I would like to share with everyone. Of 80 acres that Ben and I plotted off. Every acre was sold, and this was 80 acres that currently brings $53,951.84 into taxes, property taxes, into the county. If it had remained 80 acres of very poor native grassland, it would bring in approximately $1,894.44. I think that the landowner's intelligence has been continually insulted throughout these hearings. I don't think you can find a better steward of land than a farmer. This land provides us with our living. I cannot say the same for a developer. Some of them that come to mind are Shawnee, Jerry Whittemer. They came out, made a quick buck, and we're all left to clean up the messes that they left. But a comprehensive plan will not stop this. What it will stop is the young farmer, the young family that wants to move out of town, provide their family with more area to play, garden, have pets, or maybe even a 4-H livestock project, or just have a hobby that requires space. I think one thing that we have not talked about, that Ben and I talked about on the way in, is nobody has mentioned the effect that this comprehensive plan would have on our school districts in the outlying areas. Shawnee Heights, Silver Lake, Seaman, Rossville, Auburn, Washburn. If there is no growth out in the county, these schools will not grow. And they have long-range plans where they have built classrooms and facilities to accommodate the growth that they project will happen. But it won't happen with this comprehensive plan. I would say if, and I am not for this plan, if we are so determined to have a county comprehensive plan, I would say to totally scrap this current plan, start over on a smaller scale with correct information, and get people involved who have some skin in the game. I would urge you not to adopt this plan. And I did listen to what you said, the commissioner said. You know, yes, the 3-mile radius, we need to do something. But we can't pass a comprehensive plan just to take care of the 3-mile radius. Perhaps this would be a starting point for the city council and the county commissioners to start working better together. I agree, none of us can look at the changes that the commissioners have proposed, and I would have to wonder then, is it still going to be the plan that you will vote on this September 10th? Will there be public input before then? That would be my final question, other than to urge you not to adopt this plan, and if you want one, start fresh, and I would not be spending money on a paid consultant. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Brenda Schutte, and I am a citizen of Auburn, Kansas, and have been for 35 years. I also sat on the city council. in Auburn. And just this morning, you should have all received a copy of a resolution that we passed, and I'd like to read it for those that haven't seen it. It says, whereas Shawnee County has proposed the passage of a Shawnee County Comprehensive Plan that will have significant effects upon the citizens of Auburn and customers of the city's utility services. This plan vests substantial control with the county over land use that, in the opinion of the city, is to the detriment of its citizens and customers. Whereas the comprehensive plan contains inaccurate information about the growth and planning of Auburn city utilities, specifically the wastewater collection system. Whereas the city believes that while balanced development is appropriate, this is best achieved by private landowners developing land to their own personal and economic advantage and not by countywide fiat. Therefore, the city respectfully requests that the county reject the passage of the proposed comprehensive plan. And this was signed by Mayor Mark Brown on August 20th. Part of the comprehensive plan on page 101, under the Auburn Residential Growth Area, states that Auburn recently expanded its wastewater treatment facilities and can generally accommodate residential development to the east and north of its current city limits. This is inaccurate information. Our wastewater system has not been expanded. We are currently at the beginning stages of a project to rejuvenate our current wastewater system, but it is not expanding at all. It's just fixing the issues that we currently have. So I stand opposed to this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Commissioners. How y'all doing today?
Good.
And audience, my name's Joe Brazil. I reside over there by the Capitol on Jackson Street, 735 SW Jackson Street off 5. And I'm here because I think that Commissioner Cook said it pretty good about our liberties. We're losing our liberties. It seems like every time we turn around, we're losing some liberty. And I'm here to tell you, I know last time I was here to talk about the swimming across the lake, and that's just indicative of what we're talking about here. We're going to be you're voting on this idea about expanding on out to the county, and you got three of you fellas, a young lady here, about voting on all this stuff, but y'all don't even have straightened out about swimming across the lake, and then you're wanting to control all this other stuff. Now, if you think about the city of Topeka, that's the holiest city I've ever lived in my whole life, and I've lived in 5 capitals in this here United States. It's holy because never seen so many potholes in all my life. You got to study up on you got to study up on them potholes out there, because you're going to expand out there and they can't even. Y'all got pretty good roads out there, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. And so I think that, and the other thing I want to know is if y'all talked about the request I made about y'all need to have a prayer after you do the flag or before, because we need to pray about all this stuff before we get further. And I didn't know, I made a suggestion about having a prayer at one of these meetings before y'all get going on it. Did y'all think about that any?
It'll be something we consider.
Okay, well, the good Lord would sure appreciate that, because we ought to be doing a lot of praying before we spend a lot of money on this here plan, because if you take the population of this here county and divide it up all this money y'all want to spend, ooh, somebody's making a lot of money when you could just sit down and think about it with some common sense. And these people here got a lot of common sense. And I'd like to say a couple other things, and I'll turn it over to, since I got a little bit of time here, just to cover this up here. I'd like to say that I kind of disagree with this idea about not able to speak to the commissioners after a meeting, because it doesn't make quite sense. I mean, there's a God of the universe who covers everything, but after a meeting, it seems like when I talked to Honorable Archer, I was told I couldn't speak to him without having some appointment, and so I'd like to make a recommendation that be changed. That doesn't make quite sense to me that I can't speak to something. And the final thing is, did y'all follow up on that swimming thing? Because y'all making all these rules here, but you go back in time and nobody even, did you put the signs up about the no swimming? And why is it I can't swim? You let the, because I know it's tied into this, but when you start making all these rules up about expanding the city, and the city's gonna get all this tax money, and it's gonna leave somebody holding the bag. That's really about all I got to say. And I'd like to know more about the swimming thing. That's all. If you could just send me a letter or something. Nobody, I hadn't heard hide nor hair from nobody about the swimming. I may have missed it because I had to go down to Arkansas and Texas and stuff like that for some business. But,
We'll follow up with you on that, Mr. Brazil.
well, I sure enough appreciate it. I think y'all got it going on. I wouldn't be paying them smart aleck planners and all that money for something they don't know nothing what they're talking about. That's all.
And just to clarify, when you came up and spoke to us after the meeting, Commissioner Cook and I were here together, and you started making statements.
Yes, sir, I sure enough did.
And that's why we can't sit together and listen to you.
Well, that's the whole problem. There's no communication. Y'all
It's
ought to
the
be
law.
talking about
It is the
Well, who
law.
made that law up? It can be changed. That's what this is all about.
But, Mr. Brazil, the comment is, we can't have the conversation with you together.
Well,
But we
that-
can- but we
okay,
can
yes,
have-
but you can-
but
yeah.
you can contact each of us individually.
Well, why is that? That don't make a bit of sense.
It's open meetings.
Well, sure enough, that's why I'm
No,
here.
well, because if you come up after the meeting,
Yes,
you have
sir.
a conversation with Commissioner Archer and I,
Yes, sir.
we're leaving somebody out, aren't we?
Well, everybody's here. I'm here. You're here. Everybody's here. Don't,
But that's
no.
why we can't do it. But if you want to have a conversation, you could have it with each of us individually,
Well,
otherwise...
why do I want to do that when I'm here?
All right, but we can, but thank you, okay?
Thank you very much.
Well, does that make sense to anybody around here? 'Cause, I mean, I just don't, Lord have mercy, I ain't got, I must be missing something here. Why is it y'all voted on something like that? So I can't talk to you, I could talk to God anytime, but I can't talk to y'all not God. I mean, why is it y'all make a ruling that I can talk to God, but I can't
It's a
talk to
state
y'all?
law.
Whose law?
It's the state.
And you were
of Kansas.
talking about Liberty's officer, Commissioner Cook, that you were talking about our liberties, and we're losing our liberties, that I can't even talk to you,
But,
or any of you commissioners. It don't make any sense.
Joe, I'd be
But-
happy to sit down with you afterwards and go through it with you.
Well, I gave you my address. and
Yes, sir, I got it.
I'm honored, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody here in y'all's time, but I'm just saying, it sure enough doesn't make any sense to me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good
But
idea.
we can't have comments from the gallery, okay?
See, there we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Can we please have the county councilor address the reason for
Yes,
that law?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. That's all I have to say. It's just like my friend in the graveyard, he has a tombstone. It says, I tried to tell him I was sick.
Good morning, Jim Crowd, Shawnee County Councilor. What the commission is referring to is the Kansas Open Meetings Act, and that prohibits, since we have only 3 commissioners, 2 of them cannot speak off the record about items that are pending for business before the commission. It's the Kansas Open Meetings Act. It's a state law. It's not being used to thwart discussion. It's to require discussion to be on the record. It's the same reason why they didn't come this morning with a full set of edits that everybody's talked about, all 3 commissioners know, and they're not voting on it, because they've just introduced those this morning. Each one of them has introduced their edits. They're not allowed to talk to each other off the record. If we start doing that, then the people's business will be done behind closed doors, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants business done behind closed doors. They want them.
Whenever you tell people they can't talk to you,
Yep.
gotta tell them.
You are allowed to talk to the commissioners at any time. You have to talk to them individually.
Isn't that what you're saying? Now, that's
But,
kind of
but
like
Mr.
talking yourself
But,
out.
Mr. Brazil, Joe, I can't have you making comments from the back like that. That's disrespectful to the
I
clerk, okay?
apologize, I'm gonna leave.
All right.
But it's not because of y'all, it's just because I think I better leave.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.
God bless America.
Thank you, Jim.
It's a tough rule, and it's tough on us sometimes in terms of trying to get business done, but that is the law, and we do observe that, and not only is it the law, but they can be fined, they can be publicly removed by an action by the Kansas Attorney General or the District Attorney if they violate the Open Meetings Act. So we take that very seriously. We have training about it. We don't jointly email each other and talk about things that might come before the commission because of that same reason.
Thank you.
But ma'am, there's an opportunity to come up to the podium, but we can't have comments from the gallery because the clerk has to record everything that's said, okay?
I grew up on my family's farm in Miami County that my great-great-grandfather homesteaded. My grandfather was a dairy farmer all of his life. His father was a dairy farmer. I was in 4-H growing up. I'm fairly familiar with that, if you're asking me about agricultural issues. It's important to me. When I was growing up, I definitely helped the family farm. I've driven tractors, I've milked cows, I've done all of that.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
My name is David Parker. I live 7 north and a quarter west from Overbrook in the southeast corner of Shawnee County. I think the only dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. I've never been politically involved in anything. You can ask my wife for 30-some years. I bought a piece of property 30-some years ago. I worked hard. I paid for it. A lot of people go down along this patch of brome and ask, would you sell some? So the other day, a young couple wanted to buy 4.5 acres right out of the middle of the brome. I said, wouldn't you rather be down there in the trees? Wouldn't you want to be up on the other end? Why would you want to be right here in the middle? Their answer was, because we want to move to the country and we want to have some bees, and everything would be nice and open for our bees. So my question to you this morning, gentlemen, is what is wrong with somebody wanting to and buy a piece of property and be happy with it? Now, I will get, if this gets voted on, and I as a landowner can't sell off a couple pieces of property that I've worked for pretty hard, I'll guarantee you I'm going to be politically motivated. I'm going to know who's for it and who's against it, and I'm going to campaign for somebody different if they vote against it. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Susan Duffy, General Manager with Topeka Metro, and I appreciate the opportunity to appear here. I've read the document, and throughout the document, transit is mentioned several times, and I am here to let you know that at any time, we definitely at Topeka Metro are ready to visit with you. As you know, 50% of our funding comes from a mill levy within the city, paid by city taxpayers, and that is why our service is in the city. We do get a lot of phone calls from folks in Montara, not understanding that they are in the county only and not in the city, wanting to know why our service does not extend there. Also, to let you know, our SOTO project continues, and we're averaging about 850 rides per month. This is the cab service that is provided 24/7, 365 to anyone wanting to work in one of the work places down there south of town, Bimbo Bakery, Target, Mars, the Pallet Company, Maximus, and they are busy a lot. We continue to work right now on North and East. We hear from businesses up there wanting to know if they can get some service up there. But if you ever do want to talk about bicycles with our Topeka Metro bikes or talk about transit, just know that we are ready to visit with you at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Good morning. My name's Ken Corbett. I live in Shawnee County. In fact, my family's been in Shawnee County for over 100 years, so we've watched a lot of planning. The thing that frustrates me, I'm just outside, I guess, on this map, the bigger circle, so we're outside of that. But the thing that frustrates me is, as you've heard this morning, if it's not broke, don't fix it. There's been no screams from the rural part of Shawnee County for anything that you're proposing. This is all kind of coming like you would almost call this annexation from the county versus annexation from the city. They want to keep taking over and come out into the rural areas and express their desires. Most landowners that I had calls from were just like the gentleman said before, it's kind of estate planning. You spend 30 years of your life or whatever buying a piece of property, you'd like to have the freedom and the non-restrictability to kind of run that piece of property. A good illustration of this is if you go get a handful of sand and scoop it up, you get a lot of sand. The more you squeeze it, and the more you restrict it, and the more you work it, there goes your growth and people leave. One thing that was put out here was in 2017, this was from the United Van Lines Company, Kansas ranked number 5 for people exiting the state. And this because of taxes, comprehensive plans like this, $115,000 for what? Ask the people who live there. You don't have to bring out-of-town people that's never driven a gravel road or seen a farm. And like one guy said, if I wanted to live inside the city limits 50 years ago, I could have done that. I urge a no vote on this, and it's just like everything else. Those who have put this together never live here. They live in the city or a town. Most people that put this together, elected or otherwise, never walked in the boots. So I appreciate you letting us talk. I hope you vote no on this, and everything was fine before you started.
Thank you, Ken.
Good morning. My name is Gary Heisel, and I've been a resident of Shawnee County for about 35 years. And I recently sold some property in Shawnee County, and I ended up keeping some property in Shawnee County, about as far as you can go southeast. One of the concerns I have is and I have not been able to look at all the details of the plan, but one of the things that I believe it would disturb most people is, to give you an example, in Douglas County, a friend of mine sold some property and he ended up with 10 acres left in Douglas County, and he couldn't sell that because of a restriction of 20 acres to be able to build on. So he had a water meter on that property that was of no use, so he had to have it pulled out, and he sold it to another individual within Shawnee County. Now, my property, I have a water meter on it, I have had for about 25 or 30 years. I kept it at as a minimum, so in the event, at some point in time, I could sell this piece of property that's approximately 14 acres, has electric, has a water meter on it, and beautiful building site. And if the restrictions of this plan would say you can't sell that to somebody to build on because it's, say, less than 20 acres, 10 acres, or whatever the restriction might be, that prohibits people from selling property that's less than a certain amount of acreage or frontage or whatever. And the So those are major concerns I have with the plan. If those are restrictions, they shouldn't be adopted. I'm like most of the other people, opposed to consultants all of a sudden in big cities hired to come up with a plan that affects everybody that, in a lot of cases, isn't really in the best interest of the county residents or whatever they're trying to impose on people. It takes away a lot of our liberties, freedoms, and living in the county is an escape from population, a lot of other restrictions, school, like some of the people have said before me, wanting to go to certain school districts, that, when you start having all these restrictions, and that inhibits the growth of the county. I paid taxes for 30-some years, a considerable amount of taxes on the property I owned, the house, and I didn't object to that. But if you start having restrictions, taxes go up, the population is not going to grow in the county at all. So I would suggest that you not adopt a plan. Doesn't sound like it's a really popular plan for the general public that lives in the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Lee Palmer. I'm kind of against this plan because I read the whole 190-some pages. It says something about Flint Hills. The Flint Hills are not in Shawnee County. I'm sorry, they're not. They're wested over quite a ways. And then it said something about tourism on the Wakarusa River. It's almost dry right now, and there's no access to it because it's privately owned. You had 320 responses to this plan. I don't ever remember getting one, but maybe I did and just throwed it away. I don't know. Well, you already know the city of Auburn's against this plan. They was talking about flood and flood control. Well, there was no mention of the Wakarusa Watershed Board, which we have 33 impoundments, and I'm on that board. I don't know how many houses you're currently going to allow, and regardless of how many acres, is it going to be so many for 40 acres and the same amount for 1,000? It needs to be clarified. And I really don't understand why they compared Shawnee County to Douglas and the city of Wichita. They should have put it at a percentage instead of so many in and so many out of the city limits. I can understand why a lot of people don't want to live in Topeka. It's a high crime place. The taxes are high, the streets are bad, and I have a great grandson living with me, so he can go 437 instead of 501 because we have better schools. So I would ask you to have another meeting on this once you get your changes made so we can have a discussion on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Elmer William Gutner. I'm 6237 Northwest 94th Street, and I oppose it as it is right now. A comprehensive plan needs to be far more flexible than this thing is, because to avoid the future problems in the future. And I think that if it was far more flexible and tried to look at the rights of the people that is out there in the rural community, you would find it be far more financially beneficial for both the city and the rural community. That's mainly, I just see that it's a far overreach of what the city, which was primarily part of the planning of this, is trying to push upon to the rural sector, and that the rural sector still should retain, a voice. I can see that there is some ideas that I see in there that, we need to have something, to have some plan for the 3-mile area, and we need to try and get some of these things addressed, and maybe trying to work on something much more simple that would really address that problem, and also maybe give some general guidance or general things to try and change the way things are going, but not to totally try and stop or avoid or say that you can't do anything or make it totally impossible to like person to have 2 of his kids live on his farm and maybe even help on the farm or something like that. So that's about all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Elizabeth Dean. I live northwest. We moved to Topeka in '59, lived in the city, got out of it as soon as we could, went on Rochester Road, fantastic, raised our kids, Seaman District, fantastic school. Grandkids went to Silver Lake, Rossville, and we went to the grandparents' meetings. I wanted to go back to school. The teachers were so good, they had time for everybody. So we need to realize these small schools are fantastic. And to see them ever have to fold up is just heartbreaking. And I always thought this is a free country, America, but it's not getting that way anymore, is it? Up north, our farmland, we're fighting windmills and solars. They want to take our land. All that electricity goes back east. They say, oh, it brings jobs. But all the jobs are from people out of state, not from Kansas. So that's been a headache we've been fighting. This is a free country. Our kids, we've been on this land since '78, 4 generations up at Nemaha. We've been there 6 generations. Our kids want to live out there. They want their grandkids to be out there. And to me, every city kid should be raised on a farm where they learn how to grow, how to learn respect, how to work hard. It's just a big subject that we all have to think about in the future. Because this crime stuff has got to go. And how you going to do it? It's going to be up to us. We're at fault. All of us are at fault for our kids sitting on computers, crime, drugs. What do we do? Oh, another thing. Back when they wanted to scratch off in Kansas, do you remember? In the paper, they said Kansas people didn't want gambling. They said no, they voted. And the state said, just think, if you vote yes, you won't have to worry about schools or road or bridge work anymore. Where's that money? Why are we taxes still going up on that? Anyway, some things I wanted to get off my chest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Steve Burrell. I live at 2731 Southeast 32nd Street in the city of Topeka. I'm here primarily because I'm trustee of a family trust, and it's located on 80 acres on Northwest Rochester Road, 94th and Rochester. And I just want to point out a couple things here. Now, Commissioner Bueller's remarks were kept from us in the sound went out in the cafeteria there, so I didn't hear what she had to say. Okay. But I did hear her say something about page 151. Now, in page 151, there is a paragraph there that says, each farm or ranch existing prior to adoption of this plan should be allowed to create one new residential tract through the plat exemption process, and these new residential tracts will be at least 3 acres in size. Then it goes down to specify a little bit more about it, like 200 feet of frontage on the road and stuff like that. The thing is, and maybe I'm kind of stupid, but I think it's saying that if you have an 80-acre tract like my family does, you can break off 3 acres of it and have a 77-acre tract and a 3-acre tract. You know? And that doesn't correspond to what my family would like to do with the property that we have, because it's been in the family 3 generations. My grandfather bought it in 1952. When he built his house, he allowed for a hole in the foundation because he knew a water line was going to come out Rochester Road and that someday we'd attach to the water line. We did that, and that water line has been replaced in the last 4 years or so, again, to allow for expansion of residential property. So, anyway, I'm just concerned about the plat exemption process being changed to the extent that I can't do anything with the property that we have. I do have a plat filed with the Register of Deeds and with the County Surveyor's Office. I've been told by the Planning Department that I need to get deeds done on all the parcels, and there are 15 parcels on here. But most of them won't, not all of them will be sold. Probably about half, maybe 3/4 at the most. So, you know, you're talking 8 or 9 more houses out there. But the issue is, you know, the planning department tells me, well, to preserve your rights, you have to have a deed for each one of those parcels. Then, the people in the planning department, and I went down and talked to them a couple weeks ago, and a lady called somebody else in the county, and I don't know who she talked to, but they told her that, okay, you have parcel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Well, the trust can own parcel 1, but somebody else has to own parcel 2. And then the trust can own parcel 3, but somebody else has to own parcel 4. They can't be contiguous. And to me, that's just crazy. But that's what you got right now, and I think you're just going to add to it with this plan. And the plan keeps talking about vanishing farmland and stuff like that. It notes there's 376,000 acres of farmland in Shawnee County. Well, I'll point out to you, in a state of 77,000 square miles of property, that's 49,280,000 acres of farmland. And if you want to see it, just head west on I-70. In 7 hours, you can turn around and come back. You've had 14 hours to look at the farmland and the pastures and stuff like that. It's all right there. It's going to be there for a long time. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm Arlen Kirkwood, and I know that this happened for a fact because my daughter-in-law's uncle in Wichita farmed, and right next to his farm was a lot of houses. And I wanted, it's too bad I couldn't call him back, but he has since passed away, but this has been a few years ago. And the people in the houses decided they didn't like the dust from the farm. So whoever they went to, I don't know, that's what I don't know, if they went to the county commission or what, but it's more government and a comprehensive plan. He kept telling me that. He told me that 2 or 3 times when I was out there. So they took it to the superiors, and they found out, and they voted that the farmers couldn't farm if the wind was blowing dust toward their houses. It actually happened. So then, if the wind's wrong for 2 or 3 days, and your crop's ready to harvest, and you can't harvest, then it rains for a week or 2, you have the potential to lose a lot of money. But anyway, I think if this was put to the vote for the people, which I'm sure it can or won't be, that it'd be 90-10 against this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. While you're coming up, if there is anybody that's down in the cafeteria area that is wanting to speak, please do head on down this way. Again, there's just a little bit of a delay between here and there, and so I want to allow anybody that wants to speak the opportunity to do so. Go ahead.
My name is Zane Tillman, and I live down south of Wakarusa. I could spit across the county line into Osage County. 35 years ago, I wanted a place in the country. I lived 7 miles from where I was raised. that is God's country. That's the most beautiful place in the world. Wakarusa River Valley is just gorgeous. If you haven't seen it, you got to come out and look at it. But I looked at land in Linden, and I could have got more acres for the same amount, but I chose Jordan Road because that was where I wanted to live. And I don't believe that you ought to limit the number of acres a person owns. The only person ought to limit that is your bank account and your banker. I really believe if you created an environment where people had the ideal living conditions, where they wanted to live here. When we lost the likes of Jostens, Hallmark, Payless Distribution Center, Volume Shoe, Santa Fe Shops, and I'm sorry, eventually Target Distribution Center and Mars will go because that's the way things work. They outlive their building, it costs too much to. If people lived in the place they wanted, with the amount of ground they wanted, they would be willing to, if they have to, they'll work 2 jobs, they love where they live. And I just don't think that this plan is gonna promote people wanting to stay. If you want it, and I really don't understand urban sprawl. My gosh, somebody buys 15 acres, puts a $300,000 house on it, you're getting pretty good tax money out of that. And I couldn't believe, I'll be quite true, I couldn't believe that all the counties around us had comprehensive plans. So online, look, you're absolutely right. They all have them, except for Wabunsee County, you can't see it. You can you can call up the exemption if you want to put a trailer house beside your mom's house because you need to take care of her, or a building permit. And I would be willing to bet, knowing lots and lots and lots of people in Wabunsee County, if they said, I want to buy 15 acres and I want to put a $300,000 house, and I say, you come right on. I would bet money they'd do that. We ought to encourage that kind instead of limit it. Restrictions don't do anybody any good. All they do is it scorches off your creativity and kills your goals and your dreams. And that's everybody. Everything I had written down here, everybody's done an eloquent job of stating them already. So I just this is a bad plan. I'm sorry, and I only read 4, which accounts for me. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. Where we are at today, the commissioners each have the proposed changes that we would want to make. This gives us an opportunity. We don't come back on this item until the 10th. And that is because next week we do not have a meeting. So we'll come back on the 10th. And at that point, I would anticipate that there's going to be some discussions about what we would want to take away, what we would want to add to it. We might take a vote on that date, but before any vote, we would have, again, public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to weigh in. We are not under a legal timeline that we have to take a vote on the 10th. After any edits or changes, we may take another time for us to think about that before we take a vote, and we would schedule when that vote would be taken. But we are going to take up this item again on September the 10th, and at that time I would anticipate there being some discussion from the commissioners about where we might have agreements on what we would change or what we would add to the comprehensive plan. Ma'am, for your own knowledge, I grew up in Miami County as well. I grew up on my parents' 101-acre farm. We raised sheep, cattle, chickens. I grew up 10 years of 4-H. I'm very much aware of the needs of the farmer. Being in Miami County, we also saw folks come down from Johnson County, that sometimes people don't always get along with their expectations of living in the county versus living in the city. And so I do live in the city now, and I raised my 3 children in the city. But I don't live in the county right now rural. I live in the county city. But that doesn't mean that I don't know what the needs are of the rural community. My folks still farm today out in Miami County. So I'm very much aware of what you're speaking of today, just so you have a knowledge.
And your kids get to go out that far yet.
Yes, ma'am.
Fantastic.
But commissioners, any other thoughts or?
Thank you.
I was born and raised in a big city. So I just got to listen and learn. Thank you.
So, all right. Now, before we take up our next item, we're going to take a 2-minute recess to allow anybody that wants to be able to go on about their day, you can do so. Motion made by Commissioner Cook for a 2-minute recess.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? We are in recess for 2 minutes. Recess. Madam Clerk, our next item.
Item 3, consent agenda.
There are 3 items on the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Vouchers are totaling $2,089,397.40. We have under sales tax, Central Mechanical totaling $520,125. That is for the Expo Center HVAC. We have under building and maintenance, Central Mechanical totaling $181,388. That's for Maynard Conference Center chiller. And then under the pass-through, Champion Builders for the East Topeka Learning Center, $218,484.81. If there are no questions, I would move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer. Beat you barely.
I know. I know.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item B, emergency management number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C266-2018 with Candace Consulting LLC for completion of a commodity flow study as part of Project Hyde Park Corner at a cost of $25,900 with funding from an HMEP grant with a soft match of $6,475.
Morning, Commissioners. Nelson Castle, Emergency Management. You had authorized us to negotiate with the bidder that met the specifications and pricing for this project. We negotiated with Candace, and for the budget of $25,900, we have outlined in a contract what's expected of both parties, and we are very happy with where we've gotten with this.
Any questions for Nelson?
Move to approve the contract.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you, Nelson.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item C, Court Administration number 1, consider approval of request to transfer $78,979.60 from the 2018 budget to a 2019 Special Construction Project Fund budget for cyclical courtroom maintenance projects in Division 1, 4, 7, and 8 to include paint, carpeting, materials, and labor.
Commissioner, I believe Judge Wilson may be on her way.
Okay.
She was here at 9, but we told her we'd call her, and we did.
Okay. Here. All right. Come on down. While Judge Wilson is coming, I will say that I have never been late to her courtroom ever.
Yeah.
You have one.
All right.
Good morning, Charles Heidebers, District Court. We are in the last phase of renovating the courtrooms for next year. We've asking to take $78,979.60 from our 2018 budget and defer it into 2019. Like we have done in the past 2 years, we have placed those monies into a special project fund because it will take a period of time during the course of the calendar year to get those courtrooms freed up and be able to do that as a judge retires and they are on vacation. So as that's done, we'll be able to take those monies and address the carpeting and paint needs in those specific locations. So this is not any additional money that we're asking for. We're taking our monies that you've already appropriated and just deferring them into next year to address the divisions that are noted 1, 4, 7, and 8.
Any questions regarding establishment of a special project budget? Commissioner Archer?
It's kind of early in the year, Chuck. I mean, are you confident that you can do this without suffering later on in the year for your budget?
Yes. We have some monies available, and this is much less than what we have done in past years to address same number of courtrooms that we did this current year. It was less money. And so we're budgeting this money now for the future, knowing what our future expenses are going to be. And one of the reasons why I'm doing it now and not later in the fiscal year is that, as you know, I'm resigning in about 10 days, and I wanted to get this money put aside and get the court positioned accordingly for next year in the budget system so that they're ready to go, ready for everything. So we're very confident that these dollars will be available and used appropriately.
I'll move to approve the request.
I'll second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to solicit bids for a youth sports tournament provider to host various tournaments at county facilities through the year.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Osborne, Parks and Recreation. The item before you is we had a contract that come up, and we're looking to go back out to seek somebody who can provide us with the tournaments at the girls softball complex, plus the Bettis, and a few other places that we have. MSP has been the one that has had it, but we decided to go back out and go back out for RFP for this as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions regarding this item?
I'll move approval.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item D2, consider authorization and execution of contract C267-2018 with SER Jobs for Progress National, Inc. to continue with a trainee at the community centers and potentially at the administrative office or administration annex.
Good morning, Commissioner. Susan Fowler-Hensler, Parks and Recreation. I'm requesting a renewal to be a host agency for the Senior Community Service Employment Program. This program allows training and employment for those who are 55 years or plus. It is funded through the U.S. Department of Labor. We've benefited through some excellent employees in the past and would like to continue this agreement.
Any questions regarding this?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, passes 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Susan. Our next item.
Item E, Public Works Solid Waste. Number 1, consider approval of Resolution 2018-43, authorizing the annual assessment of delinquent sewer fees.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Flanagan, Public Works Solid Waste. This resolution allows us to assess delinquent sewer service fees for 7 parcels in Deer Brook subdivision. We'd like to have this resolution adopted and then recorded in the Register of Deeds.
Any questions regarding this item? I'll move for approval.
Second. Motion
made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E2, consider approval of request for an emergency sole source purchase from Topeka Electric Motor Repair, Inc. of a Sulcer ABS pump for the Sherwood wastewater treatment plant at a cost of $28,163.43.
Tom Flanagan, Public Works. Commissioners, this is one of 4 major pumps that help us operate the Sherwood treatment plant. It's failing. It's 10 years old. We need to get this thing replaced as soon as possible. We visited with Betty on this. The funding for it will come from the Sherwood sewer accounts, and we recommend approval.
Any questions regarding this item?
I'll move to approve the
Second.
request.
Motion for approval by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Our next item.
Item E3, consider authorization and execution of contract C-268-2018 with Westar Energy, Inc. for encroachment of an easement granting Shawnee County the right to enter onto and use portions of a Westar Energy, Inc. easement for the Southeast 29th Street project.
Tom Flanagan, Public Works. Commissioners, this encroachment allows us to get on an easement that's owned by Westar Energy, and we need that to be able to construct our 29th Street project between West Edge Road and Beach Drive.
Any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer.
Yeah, a week or so ago, we had some discussion about working with the utilities. We've got Westar, I know the city of Topeka was working very aggressively with us. How do we stand with any other utilities that we need assistance with?
It's very interesting. We're getting great communications with them. They have provided us with schedules, and we will be starting, the gas service company is going to be starting in 2 weeks, and they've given me a deadline as to when they'll be complete. AT&T the same way. Cox Communication has stepped up and indicated their schedule is predicated by when Westar will be done, but they indicate that they will be complete by the end of October. So we're in good shape with the utilities right now.
Good
So
to
we're,
hear.
ha-
Yeah.
so we're happy.
We're happy if, yes,
Okay, well, it's funny how a little publicity will go a long way
absolutely.
Okay, enough said. Thank you.
Move approval of the contract.
Second.
Motion for approval of the contract by Commissioner Bueller, second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you,
And Tom, much as my parents would ask us about our grades, I would always answer, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Very good.
It's a-
Thank you.
Our next item.
Item F, Information Technology. Number 1, consider approval of Resolution Number 2018-44, adopting the Shawnee County Information Technology Policy Manual.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blander with the Information Technology Department. This resolution presents for adoption a rewrite of the information technology policies. They're currently stated in the Shawnee County Code, available on the Shawnee County website, but it's well overdue for an update and a rewrite. These policies do have to be updated over time as technology changes, threats to information security change, and just the types of equipment that we use and the resources that we have available. So we have rewritten the policies and compiled them into this manual, and we would ask for your adoption of this as official Shawnee County Information Technology Policy. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Pat, can you walk us through, are there any major revisions? Are there things in this that would really impact our employees or department heads that they don't already encounter?
There are not any major revisions in the way we do business or the requirements that we have for people that we want them to observe as they're going about their business. We did clarify a lot of points. Password security is much more better developed. A lot of embellishments, so to speak, on topics that were mentioned in the original policy, but now we've developed them so that more questions will be answered by going to the policies rather than wondering or leaving things to interpretation. We did, as a matter of course, take the drafts of this policy through the counselor's office for form and legality, through the human resources office to ensure that we were in congruence with existing human resources policies. And we also circulated the updated policies to all department heads and elected officials and sought their input and feedback before we brought this forward to the commissioners.
I might note that pages 10, 11, and 12 address social media. They discuss personal use of the internet access by employees and how in some cases personal access is allowed and in some cases it is prohibited. The use of social media by departments, as We use Parks and Recreation and the Health Department, just to name a few, Public Works, on social media, and when it is allowable and when it is not, and when you can use your email or what you can use it for. So I'm just noting those changes for our employees. Any questions? Commissioner Archer.
Yeah, quick question. How do we ensure that these are read and distributed down to the deck plate level, to everybody in Shawnee County? Do they have to sign off as far as we've reviewed these?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a policy in place that requires all county employees to annually sign the acknowledgement that they have read and understood not only the information technology and security policies, but the human resources policy manual and a variety of other documents that they need to be aware of. Additionally, we will have this incorporated into our security awareness training program. We will have this document online and accessible to all employees, and we will be sending out tutorials and training information regarding where to find these, how to download them if you would like to look at them on hard copy, and to become familiar with them, and how to best use them to ensure information technology security.
Excellent. I'll move to adopt the resolution.
Motion to adopt by Commissioner Archer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you. Our next item.
Item F2, consider approval of request to solicit a request for proposals for an additional 1 gigabyte per second internet connection to carry the bulk of a new internet traffic streams to support growing demands.
Morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blander again with the Information Technology Department. This is a request to go out for RFP, a request for proposals for an additional 1 gigabit per second connection to the internet. The county currently has an internet connection that is provided through the state of Kansas that has worked well for us for many, many years, but it is bandwidth limited. We can no longer increase the speeds with which we use that circuit. The state itself is limited by the amount that they can provide. They're not truly an internet services provider, but we do connect to them because we have a lot of direct connections to resources in the state of Kansas. We have to be connected to the KBI, to the Department of Motor Vehicles, a lot of close connections. So we want to maintain that connection and keep it in place and use it as the primary circuit for communications between us and the state of Kansas. But we would also like to introduce an additional high-speed connection that carries mostly direct connections between the county and the internet to provide bandwidth for all of the activities that have come to light over the past few years. A lot of traffic is leading traffic into the county and back out, and that circuit is regularly overloaded. I think people get a real sense of what happens when they're trying to watch the streaming videos of even this commission as we go through the proceedings. Occasionally you'll see dropouts of the video, pauses in the action. Those are due to the overload of the information that we're trying to get across our internet connection. So these are the sorts of things that we're attempting to address by introducing an additional 1 gigabit per second circuit. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions regarding this item? Commissioner Archer?
Well, just really quickly, Mr. Chair, we discussed this at the budget time, and we
Yes.
approved it for 2019. I assume that we've got funding available to do this for the rest of the year.
Yes. It is in the budget for 2019. It is
Right.
funded for that. We would like to go ahead and do the RFP. I suspect that by the time we get through the RFP process and get a circuit negotiated and installed, we probably will be in 2019. If we can get it done earlier, I will probably be able to use year-end funds within the Information Technology Department to cover those. If it turns out that we're able to get that circuit faster and I don't have sufficient funds in the IT budget, we may come back to the Commission and ask for permission to use contingency funds to get through that 1 or 2 last months.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
No.
Motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Bueller.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Archer. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Our next item.
Item G, County Councilor, consider approval of request to issue an RFP for a point-of-sale system for the Kansas Expo Center renovation project funded from the renovation budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Kraus, Shawnee County Councilor. Also here is Kellen Seitz, General Manager of the Expo Center with Spectra, to answer any more specific questions you might have, like the boilers and the HVAC system. This is part of a critical system for managing events at the Expo Center. It is on its last legs. We have some significant events coming up later in the year. This piece, the point of sale system, is within the renovation plan and built into the budget above the line. And we want to go ahead and fast forward and get that process going and getting that in place. And so what we'd like to do is get permission to issue an RFP. I'll work with Spectra on that, and then we'll come back with a recommendation after that RFP has been issued with a proposed system.
Questions for Jim? Commissioner Archer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this would be for Kellen. Is there, as an organization, does Spectra have a point-of-sale system that they use at all their facilities?
We have a preferred vendor,
Okay.
yes, that we employ at multiple venues, one that I have worked with myself at other facilities as well. The main things we look for in a point-of-sale system are, how quickly we can turn over clientele, making sure that the infrastructure that we use is able to still process orders in the event we lose connection to internets, whether that be hardline or Wi-Fi systems. So those are some of the points that we'll look to wrap into the RFP to make sure that the system turns out products and customers as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, but also making sure that we don't have any system failures to lose service or product serviceability at any time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll move to approve the request.
Second.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Archer, second by Commissioner Bueller. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item.
Item 5, Administrative Communications. Number 1, recognition of mobile recreation unit and programming underway throughout the parklands and at events, Parks and Recreation.
Good morning, Commissioner Susan Fowler-Hensler, Parks and Recreation. Over the last couple months, I'm sure you've either seen or heard about the mobile recreation unit. And we wanted to announce a couple things today going on with that mobile recreation, and then just to kind of back up and say that this is more than just fun on four wheels. We have put a lot of thought into taking this underutilized vehicle that our fleet supervisor, Brent Hallstetter, has really tricked out with a sound system and a nice stage. We keep it supplied with a lot of different equipment. But the purpose for this is really fits right along with our principles in the master plan. We have tried to follow the National Recreation and Park Association nationwide movement to ensure that there's a walking park within every 10 minutes for residents. We have a lot of neighborhood parks, and when the master plan surveyed the community in Shawnee County, those neighborhood parks were in the top 5 priority of the residents here. So to make those parks more relevant and to really increase the quality of experience for those visiting those neighborhood parks, we are meeting the public there with this van, using it to get kids active, get families active. You've heard some stories from Darrell Stewart the other day, how well receptive the public's taking it. It is also helping us with branding at events. We had recently an event in Gage Park in the evening with NASA, and we had the planets in the parks with telescopes available. Having that van there really identified where people were to meet us in the park. They saw the van, they knew they had arrived at their destination. So we're very excited about the mobile unit. This mobile unit today, over the last couple months, we've been asking people what to name it. I know John is not fond of me calling it the mobile recreation unit. So we have narrowed down 3 names, and today, by either going to our website, our Facebook, or Twitter, you can vote on the top 3 names. So those top 3 are Wreck on the Run, Wreck and Roll, and Wheels of Fun. So be sure everybody shares that with their friends and get on the website or one of our social medias and vote on that. We're also very proud that the Kansas Recreation and Parks Summer edition of their magazine has also featured the mobile rec unit in it, and so I made copies of that for you, just to brag a little. We're very excited when they feature different things going on around the state, and we were one of those, so I'll give you a copy of that also.
All right, thank you.
Nice.
Commissioner Bueller, I thought Wreck on the Run was your nickname for John Knight.
He's blushing. That's nice.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. Today I come to you on behalf of the Shawnee County Health and Wellness Committee in conjunction with the City of Topeka. This morning we had the honor of sending out an email to all our employees asking them to save the date. The dates will be September 14th and September 24th for mobile mammography. We will have the mobile mammography unit out in the center driveway for our employees to use. We'll send further details first week of September, telling them how to make their appointments. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
Thank
you
you.
very much. Any other administrative communications this morning? Commissioner Bueller?
I do not have anything. I'm good.
All right. Commissioner Archer, anything?
No, I'm talked out, too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else for this morning, so for administrative communications, our next item.
Item 6, executive session.
There is a need for an executive session today on 2 items. The first would be consultation with the attorney for the body or agency, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship related to the coroner's office contract. The second would be a personnel matter of non-elected personnel, as we have an interview for a public works director. And it would be a motion to go into executive session, let's say till 11:30, for those 2 reasons.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Archer, and no action anticipated, but we are adjourned into executive session until 11:30.
The meeting lasted too long, so I couldn't, I can't even plug that one back in, so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We are back from executive session, no action taken, we are adjourned.